What a difference a year makes. Last year, in the first season of the Rudy Gobert era, the Minnesota Timberwolves never got into a good flow and ended up sneaking into the playoffs as the number 8 seed before losing to the Denver Nuggets in the first round. So far this year, Minnesota has an A+ defense. Their defensive rating is 106.6, which ranks number 1 in the league. Gobert deserves to be at the top of the Defensive Player of the Year race. If he does end up winning it, it would be the 4th time in his career he would take home the award. Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace are the only 2 players to ever win the honor 4 times. From a team perspective, Minnesota doesn't switch much in pick and roll and pick and pops. In fact, according to Second Spectrum, opponents are averaging a league most 8.3 misses per 100 possessions when the Timberwolves don't switch in these situations. One particular player that deserves praise for this is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He's been one of the best getting over picks and remaining locked in on his opponent. Minnesota got him as part of the Mike Conley trade last season, and they re-signed him over the summer. Conley and Anthony Edwards have been good at this as well. And we know how good of an isolation defender Jaden McDaniels is. The Wolves are superb at closing out on shooters. The thing that really pops out to me, and it's typically a sign of a great defense, is that Minnesota forces their opponents to take a lot of their shots from the mid-range. In fact, opponents are averaging the second most shots against them from 8 to 16 feet out. Only Milwaukee gives up more. It's clear in the analytics that layups, kick-out three-pointers, and free throws are a ticket to offensive success. So defensively, if you limit your opponents in those areas, you'll likely be in good shape. And I noticed that when Minnesota runs opponents off the three-point line, their second line of defense is so strong that opponents have to settle for those in-between shots a lot. Just looking at these clips, you can see Gobert's impact in particular as he seals off the lane. Opponents are shooting just 42.8% when Gobert has been the closest defender per Second Spectrum, which among players who have been the nearest defender to at least 300 shots ranks 4th best. Paul George ranks number 1. In the paint, opponents are shooting 45% with Gobert near, which is also a great mark. Here are clips highlighting just how good his timing and technique is when protecting the basket. And then in the mid-range, and as I stated earlier, Minnesota's opponents take a lot of them here, opponents are shooting 33% on 42 attempts with Gobert near. The big question is whether the Wolves are good enough offensively to make a run to the finals and win it all. They currently rank 17th in offense, which just goes to show you that you can be a dominant team exclusively off having an elite defense. The 2 things that really pop out to me though are the off-screen shooting from Karl Anthony Towns and the improved playmaking from Anthony Edwards. Towns has made 17 of his 29 off-screen shots so far, which is 58.6%. You just never see bigs like this stretch the floor in this manner. They even have guards setting flare screens for him. It's been stated before, but without a doubt, Towns is the best pure shooting 7-footer in NBA history. He's on pace to have a 50-40-90 season, currently shooting 51.6% from the field, 43% from three-point distance, and 90.1% from the free throw line. You can make an argument that Towns deserves to be in the MVP race. And then I wanted to highlight Edwards' playmaking. He's averaging a career-high 5.1 assists. His kick-out passing has been phenomenal, as you can see in these clips. What's fascinating is that Minnesota is 19-5 despite ranking in the bottom half of the league in points off turnovers, second chance points, fast break points, and points in the paint. They've shot the ball well in clutch situations, that's been big. They're also a very good rebounding team, which is always critical. And as a team, they're shooting 38% from three-point range, which is 7th best. So that'll wrap up this video. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe.